All right, let's talk about angle relationships. This is the summary side for that, lesson 9.1. This is one of the lessons where this diagram here is probably one of the best I have ever seen because it's simple. So complementary angles. There are two angles who equal 90 degrees. Therefore, they're a right angle together. Supplementary angles are two angles whose measures have a sum of 180 degrees. Now the last one is vertical angles. Vertical angles are intersecting lines. They form two pairs of vertical angles. Angles A and B are vertical angles. Angles C and D are vertical angles. Now here's the truth. Vertical angles are always congruent. In fact, that little phrase there written where it is the bonus points for this one. So let's work with that and remember that vertical angles are always congruent. Let's look at a problem. So we've got a diagram over here. The diagram is quite busy. It's kind of nice. They've labeled all the angles so we get to see that. I can look at this diagram right now and say that these two angles, angles VQA and angles KQD, or AQD, I think I said K, are 30 degrees, which means they're congruent and they're also adjacent. They're also congruent to angle CQB because it's 30 degrees. Now, angles VQT and angles TQC, they're adjacent and they're congruent because both are 60. Now, if I look at angle CQB and angle AQD, I'll see that they are vertical angles, and therefore it holds the truth that vertical angles are always congruent because they're made from two lines that intersect. Now, further on, I can go kind of crazy here and go through all of them. So TQC is 60 degrees and angle CQB is 30 degrees, meaning they're complementary angles because they add to 90 degrees. Now here's a little freaky one. Angle CQB is 30 degrees. Well, angle TQV is 60 degrees. Together, if I add those two together, they become complementary. Complementary angles do not have to be side by side. In fact, it was one of the reasons I like the diagram above, because you'll see it just says two angles. And it doesn't say they have to be side by side. They can be across. So let's look down here. I've got angle AQD, and AQD is 30 degrees, and angle BQD is 150 degrees. Together, they make a line, and they are supplementary angles. Following that same thing I said earlier, angle DQB and angle VQA are also supplementary because 30 degrees plus 150 degrees is 180 degrees. So let's look at some problems. It says, since angle AQC and angle DQB are formed by intersecting lines, then line AQB and line CQD, or by intersecting lines AQB and CQD, they are, so we've got AQC, that's a big one right there, and DQB. Now if you look at them, because they're formed that way, they are vertical angles. So not only are they vertical angles, but since we know all vertical angles are congruent, so they are vertical angles and they are congruent because they're crossed. And to make it easier, just draw the lines. Right? And you can see that this angle up here, this AQC, and the BQD or DQB, you kind of get any way you want, they're definitely vertical. Alright, the sum of the measures of angles AQV, so AQV, which is 30 degrees, and angles VQT, which is 60 degrees, together their sum is 30 plus 60 is 90, so their sum is 90 degrees. So these angles are, by definition, complementary, because complementary angles equal sorry, I just had to write, they equal 90 degrees. So let's look down a little bit some more here. It says the sum of the measures angles AQC, so angles AQC, and that's this big angle that's made of 30 plus 60 plus 60, so that's 120 plus 30 is 150, so AQC, and angles CQB, and that's 30, so 150 plus 30 is 180, so their sum of their measures is 180 degrees. So these angles are supplementary. All right, so let's do a little algebra added to our geometry. So it says find the value of x in each figure. Well, these two angles are vertical angles. They're vertical. And we know that all vertical angles are congruent. Let's see if I can spell the word congruent. Which means they equal each other. So when I do this in a fashion, I say x plus 30 equals 110 degrees. Whoops, forgot my 0. 110 degrees. Then I do my math here. Do minus 30 from this side, because with it, minus 30 from this side. So that brings x down. X equals, here we got 110 minus 30 is 80. So x equals 80. X equals 80. So far, so good. Now let's look at number 5. I've got two angles. These two angles are complementary, which means they add to 90 degrees. So I'm going to use that for my end all here. So I have the angles added together. So 2x plus 7 plus 43, that's this angle plus this angle, equals 90 degrees. I'm going to add my like numbers here. So 2x, 7 plus 43 is 50. So 2x plus 50 equals 90. Now I can do my drop down, subtract 50 from both sides. I bring down, that goes away. I bring down my 2x. 90 minus 50 is 40. So 2x equals 40. I divide by 2. So x, because that's 1, and 40 divided by 2 is 20. So x equals 20. All right, my last two are a little close on space here. I've got two angles. Together they form a line, which means they equal 180 degrees from here to here. So I'll just start with 5x. 5x plus 150 equals, together, supplementary, they equal 180. Draw my drop down. Subtract 150 from this side and the other. Here they go away. I bring down the 5x. 180 minus 150 is 30. I divide both sides by the number with the variable, which is 5. That goes to 1, which is x equals 30 divided by 5 is 6. So x equals 6. So far, so good. Let's look at the last one. Now, this little line here on both of them means the measure is the same, which makes this an equilateral triangle. An equilateral triangle, since the sides are the same length, both of these angles will be the same. So it's a little tricky. So it's going to take a little bit. But in a triangle, all the angles add to 180 degrees. So now I can put it down. So 2x plus 9 plus, remember, these two angles are the same. 2x plus 9, I got to add both the angles in there, plus 62 equals, the total of a triangle is 180 degrees. So I'm going to, whoops, try to make it 1800 degrees. That would be a lot of angles. So now I add them all together, and I'm going to combine like terms. So I got 2x plus 2x is 4x's. 9 plus 9 is 18, plus 62 is 80. So I got that equals 180. Now I can do my math because I've added like terms. 80 is the added there, so I'm going to subtract it from both sides. Oops, I tried really hard there. Subtracting 80 from both sides. Here it goes away. I bring down the 4x, and that equals 180 minus 80 equals 100. I divide both sides by 4. So that goes to 1. It's a ninja number. 100 divided by 4 is 25. Oops. So x equals 25. And I could check that. What's 2 times 25? That's 50. So 59. So 62 plus 59 plus 59. And you add all that up, it does certainly equal 180. All right. I hope you enjoyed that.